If only we'd had the first 100 days of James Creedon. That's sort of the question I'm left asking now. Welcome to Media Watch. We're looking at the first 100 days of François Hollande as compared to those of Nicolas Sarkozy.
That's right. And this was a headline. Now, apparently they started doing this last weekend, right? And here they are. Les 100 jours de François Hollande. This was yesterday's paper. And today is actually the 100 days of François Hollande, except it isn't. But we'll get to that later.
You're confusing me, James.
Okay, well, first of all, I'll explain that. It's actually 91 days if you calculate from the day he took power, the day he was inaugurated, until that whole raining on his parade on the Champs-Élysées. It's 91 days, but it's 100 days since he was actually elected. But so if you, in that 100-day period, there's 2 weeks when he wasn't president, and there's a month when they're on holidays, and there was a whole parliament that had to be elected. So not much has happened, right?
Okay, so what are people saying about it?
All right, I'll show you the headlines. You have Le Lab for Europa saying that the government doesn't really want to talk about the inverted commas 100 days because really not a huge amount has happened. Well, what he's actually done, just to give the list, he lowered ministers' salaries by 30%, raised the back-to-school allowance, raised the minimum wage by 2%, and he passed a law on sexual harassment, which was already working its way through.
Good popular policies with a good basis.
This is it. Now, apparently, Sarkozy did a lot more in that initial period. You can see this headline on the right-leaning website Atlantico, saying, behind the fall in popularity of François Hollande, Nicolas Sarkozy's place in history is playing up because, of course, they're also comparing the curves of the polls. And François Hollande went from 50% to 46% in the two polls during that 100-day period. Sarkozy was still at 69% in popularity stakes 100 days in before it started to dip off below 50% in his second year.
Is that all due to the fact that he was globe-trotting, appeared to be sort of like, striding on the world stage, this kind of thing?
And as they're saying too, the context, no economic crisis yet. Syria, Libya, all of the international kind of quagmires, that hadn't happened just yet. What else? I mean, there was
Georgia in 2008, wasn't there? Of course, he played a big part in trying to sort of calm that crisis too.
That's right. That was like the first biggie. Sure. So some of the other headlines are saying, look, the honeymoon is over. That's The Guardian. This is a Spanish paper, El País, and they're pointing to Syria, which Hollande has been criticised for not being hardline enough by the right. And then this is an Argentine paper saying, well, La Primera Dama, the First Lady, she's what they remember from the first 100 days because of that infamous tweet where she got herself in trouble for supporting the opponent of François Hollande's former partner, Ségolène Royal, in parliamentary elections.
Indeed.
So there you go. And they're also mentioning, just to finish up on this bit, there were very violent scenes in the town of Amiens last night where 16 police officers were injured in riots, and François Hollande spoke of a calmed France, if that doesn't translate very well, in France apaisée.
Calmed France, yeah.
That's right. And they're saying now, well, is this very calm?
It doesn't look too calm in Amiens, does it?
It doesn't look too calm in Amiens. So that was to mark his 100 days, even though it's not 100 days because it's 91 days.
All I'm saying, all will be done to catch those responsible for the riot in Amiens. Extra police taken to the area to try to cope. Okay, Mitt Romney. He's been reaching out to Latino voters.
He has been reaching out to Latino voters.
And he needs them to vote for him to beat Barack Obama. Simple as that.
This is it. Now, we saw earlier in the weekend that he chose a very controversial vice presidential candidate to appeal to the far-right conservative guys. Now here we see that last night Mitt Romney made an appeal for Latino voters in Florida. This is him outside of a juice bar in Miami. Now he did this big event at this juice bar and it was all to appeal to Latino voters. Well, it's rather to say, except, very unfortunately for him, he didn't vet the guy who owned the place very well, the guy who welcomed him, because it turns out he's a former convicted cocaine smuggler who helped to smuggle in 1,293 kilograms of cocaine back in 1997, along with his 11 other members of the gang: Ali Baba, Buckwheat, Stump and Skeletor.
I've got to close my mouth, I'm so shocked. But he's paid his debt to society, hasn't he? That's what Romney's got to argue, I'm sure.
I suppose he has.
Everyone's allowed to be rehabilitated.
Do you know what he said?
What did he say?
Nothing, because he is not.
No, what can he say?
They've been asking for his reaction.
What could you say, James, to that?
To Skeletor and Stump.
Error.
Yeah. So I presume those guys didn't turn up in the background check prior to the event.
I'm sure they didn't.
So there you go. That was a bit of a.
It was only a small crime, of course. How much cocaine?
I think it was a lot of cocaine.
Gang of 11?
It was 1,200, almost 1,300 kilograms. So yeah, definitely.
Nice one, Mitt. Well played. New Egyptian pyramids may have been discovered. Where?
This is true. This is in Egypt, in Upper Egypt, which is actually in the south of Egypt. 2 pyramids discovered in Egypt using Google Earth. Now, this is a facility that anyone has access to on their home computer. Now, a researcher living in North Carolina, which is quite far away, I can confirm, from Egypt, she found all of these things on Google Earth, and it turns out even Egyptologists are confirming it quite possibly is pyramids, which have been hidden for quite a while, and Google Earth helped her to find them.
That is phenomenal.
So there you go. We have the technology in our own homes now to conduct archaeological digs.
Well, I hope they name one of them after you.
Why not?
James,
Pyramid.
Pleasure seeing you as ever. Thank you very much indeed. James Creedon with Media Watch. We're taking a short break. After that, we're back with more news, with the sport and with the culture. In sport, Ribery and Benzema. That's the main theme. You'll find out why after the break.
A hotel in Barcelona. In a good central location. So yeah, something like this, but for 2 people.
With separate beds?
Sorry.
Come on, more stylish.
Okay.
More like it.
No way.
This one is perfect. Is there a pool?
Yeah, there is.
Trivago compares over 100 websites to find you your ideal hotel at the best price. Hotel? Trivago.